Well, let's stay right there then, and let's kind of focus on that with the Chiefs and the Ravens next week in the AFC title game. Because I love the way you really can phrase it when you look at line coaches and what these games are. I know a lot of times, sometimes even in the gambling market, but certainly the general public at large, they just go, oh, it's Andy Reid against John Harbaugh. And then they don't look to the DC against the OC. Now, that is Andy Reid. He's calling. I know they have Matt Nagy there, but it's still Andy that's pretty much calling things there. This does feel like a heavyweight matchup. Now, I know the Chiefs' offense has not been the same Chiefs offense since really Tyreek Hill left town a couple of years ago to go to Miami. I mean, it just has not had the explosive players, and is a reason why the Chiefs is one of the most explosive, if not the most explosive player in the league. So it's going to look different. What do you think that matchup looks like? Because I feel like the Ravens really won that matchup with another young genius in Bobby Slovic there in Houston, right? And we're talking about him for a head coaching gig all over. And, man, they had 10 points, and 7 of it came off a punt return. So the Ravens won that defensive versus offensive battle. How do you think that looks? Do you pressure Mahomes? Because with no pressure today, that Chiefs offense looked a lot better.
Well, and if you look at the Ravens, they don't necessarily have that, T.J. Watt or somebody like that type of edge rusher. They run a 3-4, of course. They're in Baltimore. They always have. So your outside linebackers are Clowney and Cal Van Noy, Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, obviously right there in the middle. Pretty good group of 4. So, yeah, they do it by committee in terms of pressure. So I'm going to be interested to see how much pressure Mike McDonald brings from those linebackers, how often he blitzes, because the Ravens are a pretty good team in terms of coverage, and it's a unit. It doesn't have the stars like we were talking with Dan Wilcox earlier in terms of a Ray Lewis or an Ed Reed. Don't get me wrong, there are really good players on this unit, but there's none of those guys who are just like single game changers.
Hall of Famers when you see them, right?
Yes, I don't think that there's necessarily any of those guys. But when you look at Baltimore, they have ranked number 1 against the pass in DVOA this year. I think 7th against the run. So I guess they're weaker against the run, but weakness is a relative term here. So yeah, they're gonna, I think, give Mahomes a lot of different looks here. And the Chiefs' offense, I don't think it lacks the explosion like you were saying. But one of the things about the Chiefs, and where I was impressed with them not only against Miami, but tonight, they're not making the mistakes that they were making in the regular season.
Yep.
There's not as many drop passes. There's not as much putting the ball on the turf, even though they did have 2 fumbles and they did lose 1 tonight. That was Mecole Hardman. But
oh boy,
they're making a lot less mistakes. And I think Pacheco being back has been such a key for Kansas City, is the fact that you got a guy that runs and you got a guy that runs with bad intentions. So, McKinnon and Edwards-Helaire, sometimes guys you can use in the passing game, but they're not like powerful runners.
No.
And Pacheco is.
I guess if you wear 10 in Kansas City, you're a difference maker.
Yes.
Because he took Cheetah's number.
Yes.
I mean, he's not fleet as foot, nobody is, but he can run over you, run through you. And you're right, changes the dynamic, that
and
physicality.
That takes a lot of pressure because Rashee Rice, he got banged up, so he wasn't as much of a factor. 4 catches, 47. But Mahomes always going to go to Kelsey when the money's on the line, and he certainly did today. Look, Chiefs are here, and because that's what they've been doing. It seems like they've been just kind of hanging around, and hey, we're still there, even though we're not the Chiefs of old, but they're just 60 minutes away from getting to the Super Bowl. But I got to tell you, my first lean, and probably I might just end up going money line here, I do like the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, and I know that you like when it's certainly 3 or less,
that
you're going to start looking to those numbers,
yeah,
correct?
minus 165. I don't know. I mean, there was a flat 3. Now that flat 3 I mentioned here in town at the South Point has disappeared, and they've gone to 3.5. So early money on the Ravens doesn't mean it's always right, but yeah, that opener, there were some, I think, some faraway stores that opened 2.5, and that was a bad number. I felt on Baltimore, so it went to 3 immediately.
The lean for us, and again with Mike Somich, and this could change certainly with injuries, and we'll keep an eye on the health of a lot of the key offensive players for sure. It feels like it's towards the under. But my caution is when you have elite quarterbacks like Lamar and Patrick. I played the over in the Bills game today, basically counting on the quarterbacks to be great, and they were. I look at the first half under, though, at 22.5, and maybe a feeling out process. Do you expect these offensive coordinators to come out and go, let's attack right off the blitz, or kind of closer to the vest? Punts aren't bad. I know John Harbaugh doesn't mind playing like that, right? He 10-10 was just fine by him. And then the second half, and even when we talked to Daniel Wilcox, he mentioned that. Mm-hmm. Like, they're not out to get you in the first quarter. They're out to get you in the fourth quarter. They want to wear on you.
Exactly.
And sometimes that does lead towards more conservative play calling earlier in a game.
So what I'm wondering, though, is if it's going to be the opposite. If you're going to see maybe Baltimore throw early and then, pass to set up the run, because I remember that was always a lot of what Peyton Manning and the Colts used to like to do. They would pass and then get that to Edgerrin James in the third and fourth quarter, and he just wears on guys. Now, Baltimore doesn't have that kind of running back, but it's running back guy committee with Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, of course.
But it's really
Dobbins.
Lamar, right?
Yeah, but Lamar is so dynamic, and the fact that you're 3rd and 10, and all of a sudden nothing's there. He's taking his 5-step drop, and he can just get it.
He's gone.
He's going to get it. Even Josh Allen, who was an incredible runner, there are a lot of like 2nd and 3s and 2nd and 2s. That's a first down for Lamar. Mm-hmm. Almost every single time. The one thing they got to do is they picked up the blitz better in the second half, because that first half it was getting home. Houston was getting home absolutely with that pass rush, and I think Lamar got sacked all 3 times in the first half, and then they made some adjustments. Houston couldn't get any pressure up front. So we know Steve Spagnuolo, he likes to bring pressure too. Mm-hmm. And it's not just necessarily with Chris Jones and his front four. They'll send guys. They'll send safeties. They'll send Trent McDuffie from the nickel, and they'll send all these guys to try to get pressure. But no sacks given up by the Bills tonight either. So that'll be interesting to see how Baltimore makes the adjustments early on with the protections.
The first half numbers, by the way, 2.5 for the Ravens and 22.5 for the total. So you might not want to jump on that under, even though if you extrapolate that, it goes up to 45, and you're seeing 44.5, some 44s even. So you feel like you're getting a good number for the under, but it could be more points early and less points late.
And first half, by the way, like 23 is a key number on that. So you do want to, obviously if that gets to 23, then you're going to start to, when you read the line screen, you're going to start to see -120 or -125. So something to notice if you're betting first halves and also second half.
Great information, by the way, right now. The under 22.5 is -$1.12. Over is -$1.08. So it was interesting because even in the Bills-Chiefs game today, was 23 was the number. It was 13-10 late until the Bills got that late touchdown to push it over that with the 17-13 first half lead for the Bills, which did not hold.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.